it relates to the economic catalyst in South LA is First AME of Los Angeles. This church was established in 1867. It is the oldest African American church in the city of Los Angeles. It currently has 19,000 parishioners. They offer 3 services, typically on Sunday. They have dozens of ministries and 13 corporations. They have a community development corporation, has a successful track record for over 30 years. The church, through its corporation, owns and manages 320 housing units. And this is comprised of 13 properties in and around the church, probably within a mile radius of the actual church. The church, through its Community Development Corporation, administers business loans, entrepreneurial training, and business incubator services. Not typical of activities that you would think that a church offers, but they actually have a revolving loan program, and they have other funding sources through the Economic Development Agency. The church has an office building, which is featured here, a 5-story office building, which provides offices for micro businesses, micro enterprise businesses. They also house some local black-based businesses here. They provide meeting and conference facilities within this particular church. Now, what's interesting is, as I began looking at and researching some of the various activities of the CDC, I noticed that one of their focuses is environmental cleanup. And we don't see that much in African American communities. And here is an African American church that actually has a division that is dedicated to environmental cleanup. So they go out and they do lead-based paint testing. They go out and they talk about recycling in the African American community. They do things that as planners sometimes we don't get a chance to do and advocate even in our own communities. They operate, as I mentioned earlier, a legal and free clinic, counseling services to residents in and around the area. They provide transportation services. So they have low-cost transportation services in and around the area for individuals that are low to moderate income means. They also provide tokens to their seniors and to residents in the area that actually are looking to travel about the Los Angeles area. And then finally, they operate a construction division within the church, within the CDC, and they operate a certified farmers market on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you look at, the advocacy of a CDC like this, and you think, wow, this is just not a church. This is a business, of a sense, but really all geared toward trying to provide the needed services for not only the parishioners of the church, but the immediate community as well. The next example, and when I was considering examples for this presentation, I wanted to make sure that I just did not focus on mega black churches in Los Angeles. This church actually no longer exists in terms of its sanctuary, but it does exist through its legacy. Epworth United Methodist Church was a church, a part of the United Methodist Church denomination. This church formed a public-private partnership to create a residential project. Now, interestingly, today, they're actually doing the move-in of the residents to this facility. What was unique about this project is that they constructed apartments for emancipated foster youth who are homeless. And the idea was that it was located the church was located on Normandy around 64th Street. And there were a number of youth coming around and displayed mischievous behavior. And so the church oftentimes extended an invitation to them to join them for service. They would provide them with food, and they would take them on the food, but many times they could not get them to come inside the doors. And so after restructuring within the organization, it was decided that the church needed to seek stop its operations and merge with a neighboring church community within their United Methodist system. That church was boarded up for about 10, 15 years, I think. And then finally they decided to tear it down. They demolished the structure about 2 years ago and decided that although they can demolish the structure, they needed to carry on the legacy of what they felt the church was all about. So they decided to partner with a couple of residential developers to create this homeless facility. It's now called the Epworth Youth Housing Development. And basically they demolished the sanctuary, but they maintained the ownership of the land, so they never sold the land. And really the declining membership of the church was really the catalyst for them to decide, we have to go in a different direction. So this new development, now opening today, offers 19 units, 2 singles and 17 one-bedroom units, a resource center, counseling rooms for case managers. Again, these are troubled youth. These are kids that were in foster care, vocational and for vocational and educational specialists, and a community room for groups that are in and around the area. For their residents, they also provide a plot, a garden plot, so that they can understand and begin to grow their own food. And they sell plots to individuals like you and I also on the site. So they have developed a community garden system right on site. But in addition to that, they wanted to make sure that they began to instill some financial literacy into these residents. And so they established bank accounts for each of the residents. And they had the local church credit union to match whatever deposits that were put in by the resident. They would match it 100%. And then finally, in terms of furnishing the rooms, because they wanted to make sure that when these individuals moved in, that they were furnished, they had former church members to pay for the furnishings. They also solicited donations from the community and launched a fundraising campaign. So again, I found this to be very interesting because I thought, here the church doesn't even exist in theory anymore, but they thought enough to carry on their legacy by doing something as meaningful as developing housing for foster care. Finally, my third example is West Angeles Church of God. This is probably the largest, or one of the largest black churches in South Los Angeles, established in 1943. They actually established their Community Development Corporation right after the civil unrest in 1994. The church, through its CDC, operates a housing development and manages additional properties throughout South Los Angeles. They provide land assembly for commercial development, and they actually own a shopping center that has a Burger King and some other tenants. A bank, Union Bank, is one of their tenants, and it's located adjacent to the actual church. Interestingly enough, they actually even own and manage a theater that shows religious-based entertainment. And so, these are examples, and they're taking a different model because they're looking at the types of enterprise that a church can do, and they're literally making sure that they can take advantage of their location, take advantage of the resources, which obviously in this case is their land. They administer and run a certified housing ownership program, and they also run a entrepreneurial training program. So again, just 3 examples of 3 churches here in South Los Angeles, 2 similar, the third one a little bit diverse, but all doing activities that, when you look at this as a planner, you say, wow, I see some of these similar activities that we're doing in our department, or some of our sister departments may be undertaking some of these same activities.